Well, here we are again to talk about aviation. Another 2 weeks flies past. The weather has been great, Martin.
It has certainly been fantastic. The best run of good weather I've ever experienced in Wellington in 16 years.
Gosh, well, that's saying something. It's sort of like a holiday resort at the moment.
It's amazing.
And everybody's out and about. It's good to see, all the tourist ships are in town. There are plenty of people walking around with their credit cards.
It's like a real summer.
And the house prices are starting to go up.
Oh, that's why. Good weather. People start spending more. Go and buy a house.
We don't want to get negative here, so we won't talk about that. Okay, so a big week. 737 MAX 8 makes first flight end of January. And all went well. Of course, you don't expect anything to go wrong with these things.
Well, no.
Because they do them in the simulator and they've done all the numbers and it's,
And it's a derivative of a 50-year-old design. So
50 years old.
50 years old.
That's incredible. What a great product line. It's the one that keeps on giving.
That's made them a few dollars.
It's probably actually underwritten the entire commercial airplane business all the way through if you really want to, do the...
Yeah, it's been the good little earner.
Do the history. So it looks like a 737, but the obvious changes everybody knows, obviously at the back end where the APU goes under the tail there, that's all different.
That looks like an Airbus.
Yeah, they've got a bigger APU pipe there and it's a lot more streamlined. So it makes you wonder why didn't they do that, when they did the next generation?
Well, the cynic might say they thought they'd save that up until they could charge more for it.
So now they do the flight testing and the first deliveries to Southwest Airlines, sometime next year, 2017?
Yes, 2017, and that will be the 50th year of the 737.
Oh, gosh. Well,
Wow.
There'll be a big fanfare over that, no doubt. How long can they keep that thing going, though? We've discussed that. We give it, another 7-8 years?
Well, Boeing themselves, they say mid-20s, but... I don't know. It's a very difficult one. They're already being outsold.
Yes.
And, given what we've seen with this duopoly, how Airbus seems to hopscotch the development phases, Boeing are playing catch-up at the moment. You wonder whether Airbus might not go all out and say, right, we're going to the next generation by mid-2020, and then Boeing will have to skipper. It'd be very interesting to see what they do there.
Anyway, so it looks nice. It went well. The 737 MAX is a reality now. Are we going to see any of those in this part of the world, do you think?
I'm pretty sure Qantas and Virgin Australia will be highly likely purchasers of that particular aircraft.
Right, okay. So we'll see them doing the Wellington-Sydney runs.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the new 737 MAX up and flying. At the same time, the A321neo, pictures of that have been circulating. And it came out with those LeapX engines on. And I don't know about you, but I was expecting to... When I saw the picture was available, I thought, oh, sweet, I wonder what those Pratt & Whitneys look like on there, but they weren't there.
Yeah.
So what's going on there, I wonder?
It was scheduled to have Pratts on it, and they changed it out, not at the last moment, but a few weeks beforehand. And I just hope that doesn't mean that Pratt are having problems ramping up to the higher thrust versions of the geared turbofan.
So how much more thrust in those versions for the A321?
Well, the A320's got 27,000 pounds of thrust, and the A321's got 33 or 35, depending on the variant you order.
What, for hot and high?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, but that's quite a big difference, isn't it?
Yeah, so some ongoing problems because, of course, the delivery order got shuffled around, didn't they?
Yep.
Lufthansa seems to be getting on with...
They're running them.
And
And I read a very brief passenger report. They said it was fantastic. Although Airbus has issued a note to all, airlines that are going to be getting them in the next 3 to 4 months that they can expect an up to 2-month delay due to engine supply problems.
Okay.
Basically, Pratt & Whitney's built a whole bunch of engines that they're now having to take apart and put this one new heat-treated part in.
And that delays the whole thing.
And they've got to test it and make sure it's all sealed up and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but once they get over that, things will start moving again.
Absolutely.
Now, another aircraft that's catching attention, we should mention, because it's not every day. In fact, I can't think of when a Russian commercial airliner product did so well. We're talking about the Sukoi Superjet. We know that there was a big order for a Mexican carrier, and they fly that into America now. And now there are other mainstream carriers outside of the sort of the Russian direct influence who are also looking at this aircraft. Seems to be doing quite well.
Apparently it is doing really, really well. And that Mexican airline is super impressed. They look like they're going to buy more. Egypt Air is looking at them. A CityJet, a sort of partner of Air France in France, is looking at getting a couple. A new Hungarian airline, albeit financed by the Russian government to some extent, is also looking at getting them. And I read a very interesting article by the chief aerodynamicist as to what they did to make the plane so good, and it was very, very interesting.
Yeah, okay, because the engines are quite low slung.
Yes.
compared to the
and
other ones you see these days.
They don't look as fancy because they have a relatively low bypass ratio.
Yeah, they're small.
But the aerodynamicists went into exactly why you want engines like that on planes for short to medium range.
Right.
And why the wing's better and why it's got a much better, speed band that it's efficient in, etc., etc. And the numbers that are coming out saying it is more efficient than the Embraers.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because once you can get over that sort of mind block of buying Russian,
Yeah.
because that's always been a thing in the past, hasn't it? Yeah.
It's French-Russian engine, so it's SNECMA.
Yeah.
So parts support and the availability of technicians is not an issue.
Some good footage on our video version of this on YouTube to support what we're just talking about of the Sukoi Superjet. The flight deck instrumentation and everything, it's just right up there. It's absolutely state-of-the-art.
Yeah.
The Sukoi are going to do well, and while we're talking sort of technical and performance and all of that, Air New Zealand spending $25 million in partnership with ATR to put this thing in called RNZAF, which is an operating system which allows a lot tighter margins for weather-related, activity approaches and so on and so forth. Obviously, Air New Zealand looking to improve their reliability into some centres. They're the launch customer of this system, yet to be certified. But that's quite an investment. If you spread it across 20-some planes, you're looking at $1 million per plane.
Yeah.
So they're obviously expecting big gains from this system.
Yeah. Getting rich people into Queenstown.
Yeah, reliably. And pilots apparently will have to be especially certified in operating this system. So, and that'll be coming in 2018. They're going to be starting that. So that's been in the local news. And other local news, oh my golly, look at this. Last program we were talking about Qatar Airlines direct using their 777LR from Doha, I think it was, through to Auckland. And that's a very long flight, it's about 18 hours. During the uncertainty period of whether that was going to happen or not, because it wasn't really officially announced, Emirates just swooped in and said, right, we're doing Auckland Dubai 777LR. I think it starts, March?
1st of March.
So that's within the month. Of course, that gives incredible options for New Zealanders who want to head to any part of the world.
Yeah.
One stop from Auckland. They must have known each other were thinking about these ideas, right?
It's fascinating, isn't it? That's a long way. That is a long way.
It sure is. And actually, I don't have it up in front of me, but the seating configuration, they can carry quite a few people.
I think it's
distance.
268, I think.
It was around 219, 220 in economy.
Yeah.
The rest business.
Yes.
I believe. I don't think there was a first class.
I think Qatar doesn't have a first class. Emirates has a small first class.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but it would be small.
Yeah.
That's got to put, again, Air New Zealand under pressure.
Well, yes, and we have talked about that, haven't we?
And we'll maybe touch on that shortly with a few ideas that we think...
Brilliant ideas.
Brilliant. Master strokes of genius from the armchair coming up. But I think that's going to be quite successful because of what you can access going through Dubai Direct. But that's a huge uplift from Emirates out of New Zealand on a daily basis, isn't it?
Yeah, extra uplift, yeah. And
well,
then,
you know, A380s, you got 777 down in Christchurch. I think is there another 777 that comes in
I
to
think,
Auckland?
as we've also discussed, it's only a matter of time before the Adelaide 777 starts stopping in Wellington.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't
I mean,
you?
that's an obvious one right now.
Yeah.
In fact, you could even do Perth that way too, but I mean, that's another story.
We should probably announce it for them, save them the trouble.
Yeah, well, because we know they're going to do it.
Oh, who wouldn't?
And especially after Tim Clark hears the latest podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Gosh, it just keeps on coming.
It's all go.
And obviously, you know, the equation for operating that aircraft now, it's a sweeter equation, isn't it?
Yes.
Than it was up until recently.
Yes, cheap fuel has a wondrous effect on airlines, doesn't it?
It sure does. In the news, a bomb on an A321. Was it out of Mogadishu? It was an airline, I think, owned by a Greek company providing services for a Somali air operations company. I think that's how it worked.
It was Darlo Airlines which leased the plane from a Greek plane supplier. So Darlo is like a local flyer, and they, by all accounts, they were doing some contract work for Turkish.
Yeah. Well, they had some Turkish passengers on their flight, and that's the point. The bomb went off, I think, at a lowish altitude.
Yes.
About 10,000 feet. There's talk of the bomb being taken on board or smuggled on board via a wheelchair, person in a wheelchair, which I guess is, you know, probably increase your chances of getting through security if you're in a wheelchair.
Yes, apparently that was it. He bypassed a lot of security by using a wheelchair.
That person had a Turkish Airlines ticket. Turkish Airlines cancelled the flight that they were going to be on and put the 70 passengers who were going to go on the Turkish flight on this plane.
Right.
The aim was to blow up a Turkish Airlines plane. Now, it's a horrible thing what happened to this airline and the people in this plane, and thankfully they were able to land again. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But, boy, for the Turkish, that's a worry, isn't it? That confirms that these people are trying now to bomb their aircraft.
Destabilise them, yeah.
So I imagine their security will go through the roof, won't it?
And you'd think if this person had managed to wait another 10, 15 minutes, what the effects would have been under a highly stressed, highly pressurised fuselage.
Well, it would have blown apart.
Because
probably,
by all accounts, all that happened is he popped himself out of the side of the fuselage like a wine cork.
Yeah, that's
which is
right.
Kind of ironic given their stance on alcohol.
Was he found?
Yes, they found the body in the field.
Oh gosh,
A rather small exit hole too. I mean, you really just boom.
Well, I guess the explosion maybe blew him out too.
Yeah.
So maybe the bomb was actually next to him on the inside of the.
Yeah.
Well,
that would have been a surprise.
Well, yeah, if you were in the middle seat.
A surprise for the other passengers because apparently no one else was injured.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the aircraft took it.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's a goner, the airframe.
I mean, the damage didn't look that great. I mean, a couple of,
I think there was a TWA 72 that was blown up, or a bomb went off. They fixed it up and it flew on for...
Yeah.
And remember, United Airlines out of Hawaii.
Yep.
The whole side got blown out. They flew that aircraft, fixed it, and flew it for years.
Yeah, well, there you go. They'll fix this for sure.
Yeah, that's right. So,
thrifty bunch, the Greeks, they'll fix it.
But that just shows you the terrorist evildoers are, they want to blow up a Turkish Airlines plane, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, this is interesting. The RNZAF looking at drones to replace Orions makes perfect sense.
Yep, the RC-45.
Oh, yeah? Is that one of those big ones?
Triton, yeah, big.
Okay, so what sort of size are we talking here? BizJet size?
50 feet long and a wingspan of 130 feet.
Oh, that's getting up there.
So it'll tootle along on its 8,000-pound thrust jet engine at up to 60,000 feet, which is a perfect radar platform.
That's twice the height of an Orion.
I mean, when Aussie got theirs delivered, because they're going to operate a mixed fleet of those new 737 maritime surveillance aircraft and their drones, they flew them direct from the States.
Wow. I remember once being at the Avalon Air Show, and maybe the model before the one we're talking about, the Global Hawk.
Yeah.
That flew in.
Yeah.
I was there when it flew in.
Well, it's based on the Global Hawk. Yeah.
And that had just arrived non-stop from America. Had flown all the way through the night. And it's amazing. Just landed and taxied in. And
no one was jet-lagged.
No one complained.
No, they were all happy.
But that's a long way.
That is a long way, and they're not that fast, so yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why it took
I wonder to what extent they do fly completely unsupervised. I doubt it. I guess there's someone there all the time watching them, eh?
Well, yeah, but maybe the patterns they fly are auto.
Yeah,
but you still just monitor them.
I'd like to know more about them, actually.
Yeah. We're sort of in no particular order here, but Air France retired the 747. They've had it since 1971.
There you go. The end of an era.
Yeah, another airline that does that, so that's gone. Now, we were talking, KLM, of course, is owned by Air France.
Yeah.
I know the Dutch weren't happy about that when that happened.
No, they weren't, and there has been continued rumblings about how Air France runs the combined group, but they have just released separate figures for the first time in a while.
Yeah.
What it shows is that actually both airlines are doing quite well. Although Air France has experienced a relatively large traffic fall-off due to the terror attacks in Paris, and KLM's picked up a fair bit of traffic.
Right.
KLM is not much smaller than Air France in terms of numbers of passengers in that flown, which is interesting given the relative size of the countries.
Yeah.
So KLM does seem to be doing quite well in relation, but overall the group is doing well, particularly in freight.
Oh, okay. In freight. The Swiss got their 777-300 at last. Some really nice footage out there of it coming into, I think Zurich is where they brought it in. They have not been a Boeing operator.
No.
Have they? Well, they had a 74.
Yes, and I've flown in the old days Swiss Air 74s.
But that was it.
Yes.
Everything short range was McDonnell Douglas then. They had MD-11s, DC-10s, of course.
Yes.
And then they sort of went all Airbus.
They did.
They were a launch customer for the A310, remember that?
Yes.
With Lufthansa. Now they've got the 777-300, but they are owned by Lufthansa, so it's really like Lufthansa buying a 777, not Swiss, right?
SAS, or whatever SAS is now called out of Luxembourg, Swissair or Air Swiss or whatever they're called because the name changed, and Austrian Airlines, it's all Lufthansa.
Yeah. So
and Swissair is actually sort of a low-cost part of the group now.
Yeah.
I met and spoke to a DC-10 MD-11 Swissair pilot who'd retired at the time.
Yeah.
And he just loved those DC-10s, eh?
They were early customers, but then later on they did that other order. They got those special ERs. And also they were the launch for the 747-300.
Yes, they were. They were a great plane. I went to the States a few times on one of their 747s, and it was wonderful.
Yeah.
With the chocolate brown,
That's it.
Yeah.
I got to say, their minimalist livery is quite attractive.
It is.
I mean, it's all white. It's very Swiss, but it does look good.
In the town I lived in Germany, they have this big thing in the middle of summer, the Summer Night Festival. And Swissair, for a couple of years, and I know they've done it recently, but when I was there, they didn't do it every year, but every now and again, they'd do a low flyby with A330s or whatever, just come drifting down the lake, really low.
Yeah.
With two of their Patrouille Suisse aerobatic things flying next to them. It was pretty cool.
They're up for demonstration flybys, aren't they? The Swiss big time.
Them and the South Africans.
And the Hungarians.
Hungarians are
down there,
mad.
Down their river.
Yeah, like 40 feet.
Yeah, everyone goes nuts on that.
Yeah.
Oh, useless reporting. Every now and then you see a real clanger. There's been one recently, last few days in our New Zealand Herald. They reported a story where it must have been a turboprop aircraft. They don't actually specify the aircraft. It's either Q300 or ATR. Christchurch to Hamilton made an emergency stop at Nelson because there was some sort of haze in the cabin. Fair enough. But the caption photo, and if you're watching the video version, you see it now. The caption photo is of a 777-200 in the old livery, suggesting that, it was a 777 that had to divert to Nelson. And a couple of things here. It's lazy. It's totally lazy just to, do a search in your database for any old plane that might be associated with Air New Zealand when there's a specific story about a regional airport. And then it's even more lazy to choose a picture of a livery came out in 1995 and doesn't exist anymore. Do they really think we're zombie morons?
Well, it is hard to find an image of an Air New Zealand ATR. As you were speaking, I Googled it and it took 0.39 of a second. So, I mean...
And you got pages of them, I can see.
In a busy day, could you spare the time to find the correct image?
I mean, either they're completely lacking in any sort of awareness of any general knowledge or anything, or they really just don't care and think that we're all so stupid we won't notice.
Well, I wonder if when they show the perpetrator of a crime, they just slap any old photo up there that they find. Grab a photo of Facebook, chuck it up.
My idea, I would recommend to the New Zealand Herald that every time they do an aviation story, just to level it out, is to just only put a picture of the right flyer with everything.
Yes.
Be done with it.
And just call it generic aircraft.
Yeah, it is the first plane to ever fly, powered plane, and it does cover everything from there on in. So
yeah,
that would be my way around that. But
that's
honestly,
a good idea, Paul.
Now, here's the other thing. What I thought I'd do, maybe we should dial up and find out how long the Nelson runway is. I think it's about 4,800 or 5,000 feet max. While we're talking, we can find that out. But what I thought I'd do, using Microsoft Flight Simulator, FSX, I haven't upgraded to Prepared 3D. Coming into the runway, how long is it?
4,420 feet.
Okay, 4,420 feet. Going by the caption photo shown in the Herald, this is how it would have run. This is a 777-200 of Air New Zealand with the current livery. See, I'm even doing better than they did.
Yeah.
Just by having the current livery. Coming in, this is standard landing weight.
Yep.
And it's with a wind of 150 degrees, virtually down the runway at about 8 knots. Okay, and landing on the 1,000-foot markers at 138 knots, touchdown. Okay, now as you can see, there's the touchdown there, right on the numbers, thank you.
Well done.
And it's absolute full braking and full reverse to pull it up, as you can see right now, to the the numbers at the other end.
Yeah.
So it is doable, it can be done, but you wouldn't want to try it.
And no turning around at the other end.
No, you're just stuck there.
Yeah.
We'd have to get someone out to come and push you back, but you're probably not a tug
there
that's got the grunt to do that.
Yeah.
And then you've got to take all the seats out and everything to be able to get it off again.
Take it off again,
Well, maybe not that, but you'd have to line it up. So it is doable, but sort of unforgivable the way it was reported.
Yeah.
Unforgivable. Wasn't that a song by Nat King Cole? No, it was Unforgettable.
Unforgettable.
Okay, let's talk about this Iran Airbus order, because it feeds on to another thing we're going to chat about. People knew that there was something coming if they'd got that deal on nuclear arms, that the sanctions come off. The airline was basically not on its knees, but driving around in old stuff, needed to renew. It looks like over 100 aircraft, and Airbus seems to have the lion's share, right?
This is only an Airbus order at this point. A large batch of A320 series planes, both CEOs and NEOs.
Yep.
I think there's some A330s in there.
Yes, there are.
I don't know whether that includes the 7 A340-600s they've already got lined up, the second-hand ones.
I think there's talk of A350s.
A350s, and then, of course, the icing on the cake.
12 A380s.
Yeah.
Now, that is so well timed for Airbus. They needed to be able to announce an order like that at this point, I reckon, because otherwise it looked like it could die. I mean, if Emirates turned the tap off, that would have been it. Not that they would.
No.
But that would be it.
Yeah.
This also leads on to a story about Iran thinking in this purchase to start what Emirates have done in Dubai, and that is to create a global aviation hub, transportation business, using their location, which is in the same general area, right?
Better for North America, apparently.
And then take them head on. So they've got some big plans. The Iranians have got some big plans, potentially, to compete in that area. And they're good at aviation, Iran. So they can do it. And they can fuel it, too. They've got the fuel. They can cheap fuel the whole thing.
I think anybody, if they put their mind to it, can create a global airline. However, I have my doubts about it. Iran, it's going to take them a long time to get the service levels up to something that people will be willing to accept.
Right.
It'll probably be dry, and it'll probably only serve lamb.
Okay. Yeah, but Emirates and the other airlines have managed to capture Western bums on seats.
They have. I don't know to what extent the ideology of the Iran regime will affect them and their ability to be more Western in their offering.
Well, that remains to be seen.
Indeed.
And maybe they won't do that, but this is the beginnings of the equipment that you need to be able to do that.
But they could. They could. And, and to start with, many Iranians in Miami, Dallas, and in Los Angeles, so they're going to be pretty busy for the first couple of years anyway. And there's no non-stop flights to many of these countries because of the sanctions, so Iran's going to have a immediate advantage if you want to go non-stop to Miami, non-stop to Dallas or Los Angeles, because no one else is offering that.
Okay, so
and the American airlines won't be able to for a while because the sanctions still aren't 100% lifted.
Right. They were a 747 operator big time, Iran, for a long time. You'd think that there might be something natural about carrying on with the 748. I think they've had a few 400s operating in Iran. That remains to be seen. But again, it doesn't have the future-proofing of the A380.
No.
That's the thing.
I mean, I got a fantastic shot of their 747 SP at Kuala Lumpur once. The thing was like new.
Yeah. I think it's only just stopped flying.
Yeah, it would just look wonderful.
And they've got those A340-600s coming in too to get things going. But that got us thinking, no aircraft of the day today, but let's just throw this one out here for a few minutes. With the fuel price as it is, with the competition that our airline is facing and we're just talking about one of those only announced in the last week, that Emirates direct flight to Dubai, and then on to anywhere on that huge network of theirs. And also the increase in tourism that seems to be coming to this country.
Yep.
December was 40,000 more than the December before.
Yep.
And, the world's an uncertain place. It's probably quite a good opportunity for New Zealand to market itself as a safe destination and really crank up the tourism numbers.
Indeed.
So all that tells me, I don't know about you, but all that tells me that they should really be starting to think about A380s. They need to be thinking about products that do all that enable that growth in bums on seats for the tourism business, to compete effectively with airlines that are throwing that sort of equipment against them now. And people know that it's a good product, it's a premium product. So to offer it into the markets they're in and other markets they could go into, I reckon they could sell seats on this thing and make it a saleable product. So I wonder if they're thinking about that at the moment.
It'd be very interesting to know whether or not they're thinking about it, because as Tim Clark always says, the moment he puts an A380 on a route, it bumps up. Yeah. People start flying it. He says people like flying in that plane and they're willing to wait and even spend a little more money to fly in that plane. If everyone's flying around in 777s. I guess the major question is, does your average punter notice? Now, many people say, no, they don't care. They sit in the seat and they get there. But Clark says, yes, they do notice, and that's why he's buying A380s.
And, you know, the awareness of the product is out there. American Airlines is going to be flying to New Zealand soon.
Yeah.
And, you know, that represents a massive network. That's going to take traffic away from Air New Zealand. How are they going to compete against that?
Yeah.
You can't say, well, you know, fly on our Dreamliner. Oh, yeah, I'd much rather I'd buy on price in that situation. But if you're marketing, you know, go to the States or go to London or wherever, one-stop Air New Zealand A380, unprecedented experience, well, now you're talking.
And by all accounts, they're not much more expensive than a 777. And they're going to be probably cheaper than the new 777X.
Well, this is the thing. If you've got gas at where it is, and depending on the seating configuration, that's where I think we haven't seen how this thing really works, because no one's put enough seats in them yet.
Yeah.
But, you know, imagine 600, 650 seats in that aircraft. You can grow the bread and butter tourism there. I mean, that's almost twice as what you can put in the 777. And you could probably sell them, if the pricing's right.
Yeah,
you know,
particularly on that Los Angeles to London leg, because I noticed a lot of Americans got in there, and apparently it's a really popular flight, business class and premium economy from the States to Europe on Air New Zealand, because it's actually quite a good deal.
Yeah, so you don't promote that as a New Zealand destination necessarily, or a New Zealand experience. That part of it's promoted as, you know, you're flying A380 to London.
Yeah,
you know? But also out of China, they've got 3 or 4 Chinese airlines now coming here all the time. Again, it's a numbers game. You need to be able to bring as many people over here as possible. And again, the only point of difference will be the New Zealand experience part of it.
Paint it up, theme it up, fill it up.
Yeah, exactly. And sell it hard.
Yeah, flog it real hard.
You know, it'd be good for the country. Imagine if you could, you know, double your uplift out of LA to New Zealand every day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean...
For virtually, you know, well, for less than the 747-400 probably now that you're operating back in the day.
You know, we've analysed this for, minutes, and it's amazingly compelling.
And the fact that we really don't know anything about it, from a, you know...
just adds to the compelling initiation of it.
But, you know, I find when I sit in an armchair, I sort of gain knowledge. So.
Yeah.
But it's intuitively sort of makes sense to think that way. They must be considering those sort of models, surely.
Well, you'd hope so.
Yeah.
You'd hope so.
All right, so that's what we think.
Probably right.
We'd probably do that tomorrow if we were running the place.
Yeah, I would.
Okay, there goes another program. We'll be back in another couple of weeks. Until then, Paul Brennan here in Wellington, beautiful Wellington, and...
Martin Noakes, also in Wellington.
See ya.
Cheers.